สวัสดีครับชาวเว็บพิต้าสยาม .com นะครับวันนี้ทางโรแลนด์เนี่ยให้เชิญศิลปินระดับโลกมาท่านหนึ่งเพื่อให้เรามีโอกาสได้สัมภาษณ์กันนะครับก็คือขอต้อนรับ Alex Hutchings นะครับสวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
Okay, so we just go to the question.
Yeah, sure.
In time. Seems like you can play various kind of music. So what style of music that you love to play the most?
Well, I guess I try not to think too much in styles. I of course, when you start to learn, it's kind of important that you learn it like jazz, rock, pop, or something like that. But these days, when I play my own music, I always try to play my own music, and I guess it's a mix of everything. It's a bit bluesy, a bit rocky, a bit jazzy, but rather than label it, I just try and play my own music, and I draw upon the influences of everything. So I don't really have a specific favorite style, just my own, I hope, which is a bit of everything.
And so what's the key influence on your music playing style?
I guess the thing I look for when I'm playing music or listening to music is that the person playing is really honest about what they're playing, you know, and they're really feeling something. So if I hear a CD or if I'm watching a gig or a YouTube clip or whatever it is, you know, I want to feel that the performer is really trying to say something or play. Like if it's a saxophone player, it's like, you know, and he's really trying to feel the music. And so obviously to put that in a word is expression. So when someone's really trying to express something meaningful, so I guess that's what I look for in music, or what I try to do myself. And sometimes it's hard, but you know, you have to try and keep focused and you know, express something new every time you play. You know?
Such as any artist?
Oh, sorry, any particular artist? Well, I mean, you know, there's the standard ones. When I was younger, like I started listening to Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, all these guys, Ingrid Malmsteen. Although my dad also used to listen to like Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and even Fleetwood Mac. So kind of melodic kind of music, rocking music.
Yes.
But I also had like a George Benson tape, so there was some jazz influence. But then after a while, I started listening to like Stevie Ray Vaughan and those kind of guys. And then suddenly I heard Frank Gambale and my ears exploded, and I was like, wow, this is a great combination of really good rock sound, but more sophisticated harmony. And then I set on my path to really learn how to play in that kind of fashion. You know, I didn't want to copy, although I spent a great deal of time learning Frank's technique or trying to learn it, and it's a wonderful technique that he's innovated, and I guess I've been heavily influenced by that. Of course, I tried to put my own thing on it as well, my own slant. And then as I've gotten older, also I've listened to, you know, other players as well, and I listened to Alan Holdsworth. I think he's fantastic for legato sound. Also saxophone players, and piano players, and vocalists, and so I just love music. You know, try to be influenced by something, like I said earlier, that touches me. Like, so yeah.
Yeah, I love Frank Gambale too. And after watching his video, I quit to play drums. Quit the guitar to play drums.
Yeah.
So it just it's so normally you base on rock style, right?
Yeah,
and
I guess
also
so.
Kind of like neo-classic also.
I guess I wouldn't say neo-classical so much. I mean, I did learn classical guitar when I was younger, so I think I have a bit of a foundation in that sound, you know, like maybe harmonic minor style sound or Phrygian major or whatever, some diminished style things. But I wouldn't say that I particularly played, you know, neo-classical as such. However, I really respect the classical discipline, you know, the technique. Part of how I sit and how I have the guitar is so that I'm in a prime position for technique, you know, for good techniques. So I have a respect for classical, but I I think it's more that I just take from the technique. You know?
Yes, because I noticed that you used you organize your fingering very well, stretching and
Yeah.
your fingering is more like very classical style.
Yeah, right. Then in that case, like I say, from the technique, having learned, I mean, I can't remember exactly now, but I suppose, you know, learning scales like, you know, in strange ways. I think that was like a grade 5 E major or something. I don't know, something strange like that. So, you know, and I only learned for 2 years, you know, from 12 till 14 or something like that, maybe 15. And I loved it. I really enjoyed it and learned a lot from it. Yeah.
And notice that you just playing with the blues band. Your style. How is the connection between you and the blues things?
Yeah, I mean, again, I just, like I say, I mean, I love music, and blues, again, is often a very expressive form. And I think when I used to listen to music when I was younger, I would hear blues and really love the expression, but I would also think to myself, I would like to add some of the extra understanding from jazz, you know, the harmonic, because there are some, you know, like B.B. King and the classic blues guys play over sometimes sophisticated chords, but maybe they still play the blues. However, I thought that if I could hear that chord, I'd like to be able to do that if I want to. You know. So to try and take from their expression, but add some extra understanding from other styles. So yeah, you know. So therefore, I love playing a kind of a bluesy style. But again, I wouldn't call myself a blues guitarist.
Okay.
I wouldn't call myself a jazz guitarist or even a rock guitarist. I just try and think like, you know, musician or whatever.
Okay, interesting. And I'm not so sure you know it or not, but like I said, I noticed the fingering. You have like the same kind of managing your fingering in video. It's not almost come naturally.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure. Is different on the different music style, and you manage your fingering differently?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I guess I, you know, just from years of practicing scales and, you know, chromatic scales or something like that, you get used to them falling in a certain way. So, you know, if you were to play your scale positions, you know, they sort of fall in a certain way. So as you learn them up and down the neck, when you're just playing any style of music, really they should fall pretty much in the same patterns, you know. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm really answering exactly what you mean.
Okay. It's just trying to get to know your style.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's nothing specific other than, like I say, probably based on the fact that I practice all my positions in a way that the fingering is the same, you know? And then that way it stops some of the kind of confusion. You know, I used to think, oh, should I use this finger, should I use that finger? But when you just play your scales and fix your fingers, it doesn't matter. If you feel like you've got a weak little finger, then you should make it stronger so that you don't have to make the decision to do that. You can do it with any finger, you know. So, yeah.
And I just saw that from a little bit of your playing, it's kind of a different approach that you show. How do you think about the approach when you're playing the certain melody, certain chords?
The certain chords. How do you mean?
What's the idea of your approach to playing with that kind of certain?
Could you give me a more specific example?
I'm not so sure. I mean, when you hear the chord, and you express differently
Yes.
in each time.
Yeah.
Whether in live or mostly live.
Yes.
And the clinics. What's the idea of using different approach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I guess it depends on your inspiration at the time. Like, if there was a chord that was going 3, 4. So, you know, you could use a few approaches, like the bluesy approach, like I said. So I used the kind of a bluesy approach, but then a more like scalic approach, you know, like. And then you can change position, you know. So it depends on the sort of sound you're after. You can just your approach changes with the inspiration. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of okay. It's kind of clearer. It's more like you follow the inspiration and
Yeah.
express yourself.
Yeah, like you say, like the bluesy sound. You know, like it's quite a vocal quality, but then the sort of more jazzy is the more sweeter. And then you can tense it up a bit.
It's more like you respond to your emotional at that time.
Exactly. That's what I tried to do. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So, what do you love most between being a composer or studio musician and the live performance?
Probably I like playing live because I love to improvise. So that means every time is different.
Oh.
And in some respects, it's brilliant for live, but at the same time, there are certain like downfalls because it means if you play something really great, you can't play it again.
Yeah.
So same in the studio. I mean, it's a great thing if you capture it. That's fantastic. But sometimes if you play something that you think is great and it wasn't being recorded, and you try and do it again. So it's important to always do things fresh. And that's where I'm at now. That I try to keep myself on my toes. So when I'm recording, I try to do the same. So I guess it would be playing live because you have no choice. You have to go to the end. And if you know, it's easier to do that rather than in the studio. Sometimes you can overthink and. Let's try that again, and you could do 17 takes, and the first one was absolutely fine. You know?
Yeah.
Often that's the case.
Happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you play a lot with many good musicians. So can you please just give us a little bit comment on some musicians you played with, like Guthrie Goldman, Jack Kamalat, and also Jess Lewis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, you've mentioned guitar players there, but my first thing was to think about, you know, good drummers, good bass players, good piano players, saxophone players, because for me, you know, really one guitar is enough.
No, okay, sure.
So for me, it's more fun to jam with other instruments. Of course, everyone you mentioned is great, and that's good fun. When I think about playing with people, I think about one guitar in a band. I mean, my ideal sort of setup really is drums, bass, keys, sax, and guitar. That's the sound I like, because it kind of gives you the whole spectrum. Sure. You know, each instrument. But yeah, of course, jamming with all the guys you mentioned is always fun. But if I'm, you know, really honest, I like to think about jamming with like a really good drummer that plays some interesting feels, inspires me more, you know, than just trading with licks or something. Like I told you earlier, like I try not to think in that way about licks or something like that. I try to think about, you know, inspiration and I get excited if I hear a really good drummer playing something, or a really cool bass player playing a groove that makes you want to kind of move, you know. It makes you want to play, and that is how I feel about music, kind of more really than just jamming with guitar players.
Yeah, it makes sense because from your variety of video, I saw that you kind of cover almost of every part of guitar. So
try.
yeah, okay. So let's go down to your gear.
Yeah.
About your guitar and effects.
Yeah.
Could you just please introduce us?
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, this is my new custom guitar. I'm working with someone called Tom Waghorn in the UK.
Oh, okay, so his name on that.
Waghorn, yeah. And basically, long story short, is I was using my Music Man, and it got very tired, and the frets were very, very worn down, and I needed a new guitar. And rather than just get another one, I thought to myself, how about asking someone to try and make my dream guitar? There are certain things like I wanted to experiment with, so the neck profile, so I had it cut exactly to what feels comfortable, and it's so comfortable. Just the pickup selector, it's here rather than back here. It's right where my fingers are, you know, like this. The horn is on most guitars comes out to about here, but because of my technique, I have my wrist like here, and I find that I get blocked, especially on like a Strat or something. As much as Strats are great, and I've got small hands, so if I want to stretch, I need to be able to get my hand like this, and this guitar allows me to do it right up to 24th fret. If you can see on the back, I got the cover off at the moment, but this cutaway also allows me to get up, and there's a cutaway right here that is even more angled because I can really get up there. I've got a cool angled jack here, which means that if you put it down on the floor, it doesn't break the jack or put pressure on, so you can do that, or put it in a stand. And also, if I'm sat down like this, I can move the guitar and it doesn't break. Yeah, because on the Music Man guitar, as much as I loved it, I had to keep getting the jack thing because I'd sometimes just bang it, and it would be quite an annoying thing. So hence why we designed that. It's got a big scoop out there, so I can really pull up. That's about it. Got the locking tuners. Yeah, so that's the guitar, which actually you can buy these as well. This is the only one in the world at the moment. But
it's going to be in the production?
Well, not really production, but everyone is handmade. And in fact, probably what I'll do, we've had a few orders that are being made at the moment. Maybe I'll sign inside the guitar, and you know, do some small video for each person that gets one, and a little certificate for their guitar. But yeah, so there's an 8-string model as well, AH8, which is awesome as well. Okay, and then the rest of stuff that I've got today, I've plugged into the amp here, Ironheart, and that's providing my basic tone. I've got some delay with the ME25 and a volume pedal. I always like to have a volume pedal. It's a very important part of my setup. I've got a tuner over there, even though I was a bit out of tune then. And actually, you know, I was experimenting today with these new Boss pedals, and they're great. So you've got the overdrive one and the distortion.
Very nice looking and design. Exactly,
yeah. So it's quite boutique-y. I mean, this is like the bluesier style. So that's that one, and then the DS1 has got a little bit more gain in its, you know, in its makeup. So I'll show you that one. real nice kind of boutique-y sound.
Yeah.
And that's it really. I mean, I think like most guitarists, you go through phases of trying different stuff. A lot of people know that I've been working with Boss over the last 4 or 5 years in Japan, which is a real honor. I've also, been using Laney amps for the last few years too, and it's great to mix and match all this stuff, and so today we've been, recording with these pedals.
Okay, so looks like you're involved with the design or the idea of that.
I have to say, on these pedals, absolutely no involvement whatsoever.
Okay.
But on certain things in the past, sometimes I create patches for the products as well.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, which is just cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to have fun doing that?
So can you tell the difference between the OD1X and the original, and also the S1?
Yeah,
original?
They're completely different, to be honest. I think it's quite a provocative title, because obviously people will think it's like a reissue, but it's not. It's actually not. I think it's the fact that Boss are very proud of these new pedals, and they're using their very well established, famous pedals.
Yes.
But they're saying the confidence in the sound of these pedals is so good that they're happy to use the name. So I mean,
okay.
And that's how I look at it, and they are great sounding pedals for the price. And I can't quote it now. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I know roughly, certainly in UK pounds, the price. And I think for that, the kind of almost boutique-y high-end, it's like that style. It's definitely a really good value.
Yes, it's very good.
Yeah,
to me,
they're fun.
They're really different, very much improved.
Absolutely,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're great sounding.
Okay, so maybe almost one last question. What's your routine of practicing?
Yeah, I don't really...
any suggestion to the guitarists who listen to your routine practicing style?
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly have a routine anymore. I used to practice, I guess, mainly like scales and, positions, and what I would try to do, and what I would say is I often try to practice, certainly with a metronome, with some harmony for your ear. So I can quickly just check I'm in tune here. Show you, an example which is quite cool. Like for example, if I'm practicing scales, I like to have like a little bit of sound. So you can see that I'm playing just G major, but because there's a chord, it inspires me to play differently.
It can be a beautiful song.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just playing a G major scale. Okay, so that's what I would do, for practice a lot of time, and obviously I'm using this as a looper, which is a great practice tool. So if I was practicing my A minor, I would do something like So what I guess I'm saying is that I would always try and make my practice feel interesting, like to spice it up. So using a looper or a metronome or both or a drum machine inspires you to play longer. And I guess, you know, when I was practicing a lot more, I mean, don't get me wrong, I hope I wish I had more time to practice, but I would definitely say that if you can make yourself inspired to practice as long as possible, then that's a really good thing. You know, make sure you try and have good technique, don't play too fast, play at a speed that's comfortable and gradually build up. Bring the drum machine up or the metronome tempo up, or your backing track you probably slow down or pitch up these days with programs. And just have fun, you know, make it interesting. And the final thing I would say about it is think about how you want to sound, you know, how you want to, what do you want to sound like when you're out playing on stage. And you should be able to sound like that in your bedroom so that you're practicing the way you want to sound. So I mean, because I think some people just practice really fast licks, you know, and you know, like for ages, and then it's like try and play something different on a gig, and then wonder why it doesn't really sort of come into their playing, and that's because it's quite separate. So I would say make sure you have time to play in your practice as well, so that you start to practice how you want to sound.
Okay, wow, so that's very good, because this cover all my last question.
Good,
because it's more like anyone would ask you that, what would you like to say? Any suggestion for the musician who wants to be like you?
Yeah.
That's how we're all. Okay. Thank you so much for today.
That's all right.
Okay, so see you around here.
Thank you.
ขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณครับ